Hi everybody, my name is Megan Glander. I'm a junior here at UB. I major in political science and communication. I'm in the Honors College, and I'm Progress's pick for the Vice Presidency of the Student Association. Community, consistency, compassion. That's the basis of our campaign for this year. And first I'm going to start with community. So UB has 20,000 undergraduate students, and that's a lot of people. Not all of these students really realize, though, that they're part of the Student Association. The Student Association encompasses everybody. What we would want to do as a party would be to increase involvement within SA and make everybody feel comfortable. With my experience, I've been an orientation leader, I've been a UBE 101 peer mentor, and I've really helped people to find their home here at UB, and I really take pride in that. And specifically, I'd like to help people have club involvement. So as vice president, I'd be lucky enough to work with the different clubs here at UB. So through my experience as SISH coordinator this year, I've gotten to work with 65 different clubs, working with them every day, helping them out with community service and SA participation and SA relations. And that's helped a lot with my experience, and I think I'd be a good qualified candidate for vice president. Something that's very important for vice president is that they are consistent. And I've come up with a consistent policy for next year for vice presidency. So first I'd want to remodel track sheets for all clubs. I think that through my experience as being on the mock trial e-board for 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year, I kind of learned that it can be shorter, the form, and it can be easier for clubs to use, and it should be easy for clubs to use to fill out track sheets. Next, as vice president, I would want to teach the coordinators before the summer what they need to do in order to better communication between the clubs, me, and if I was vice president, and the coordinator. It's very important that they are not in the dark going into the summer, so there needs to be an orientation. Next, I would want to make the application process for being a temporary club completely online. Online is great, it's environmentally friendly, and it is more efficient. Nothing would get lost that way, and it would be better. My biggest initiative as vice president would be to have online tutorials in order to teach the clubs different things linked on our SA website. So often a SISH coordinator or club will email me and say, Megan, I don't know how to fill out a track sheet. And I'll have to explain the whole process to them, and I've come up with a PowerPoint already, but I'd like SA to put the effort in over the summer to make those videos so they could always access them, whether it be SAFE, our finance system, other resources at UB. Another thing I'd want to do as vice president, I understand clubs, their purpose is not to fulfill SA requirements. Their purpose is to be a club. Their purpose, the kickline purpose, is way different than the Pokemon Club purpose, and I've learned that through being SISH coordinator. So I think that we need to make SA requirements more convenient for clubs. So I would aim to have SA participation every 2 weeks, one at least, in order to make it more convenient for clubs, but still foster the community within SA. Also, I've worked with the Office of Student Engagement a lot here, and a lot of community partners, and I want to increase community service within the clubs. Also, I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an effective and efficient club orientation, and I would really work with my treasurer in order to make sure that that happens, because it's the beginning of the year and people need to know what's happening. Finally, moving away from clubs a little, the vice president oversees the SA Assembly, and that's extremely important, and I want to increase membership in that. I've been a member since I was a freshman and really have worked with that body. So ending, I want to end with compassion. I cannot express to you as much how much I care about the clubs here at UB. I care so much about them. I care so much about the students here at UB. From my first club meeting when I was a freshman, shaking, nervous at mock trial, to growing so much to becoming an e-board member and working for SA. I'm extremely enthusiastic about helping clubs and helping UB students, and so is my entire party. So please vote for us because we're enthusiastic and we are passionate. So thank you. Big progress.
Thanks, Megan. We'll open up to questions. I'll just go first. We obviously hear a lot of issues that clubs always have. It seems whether it's efficiency or maybe just the system itself. There's always just little issues that come up, things getting in on time. What do you see as kind of, and you're in the SISH role now, so you probably see it maybe more than anyone. What do you see issues that clubs have, and what would you directly do to make sure that they're just more efficient, that things just run smoothly for them, so you can do the things you said, that they just focus on doing the club stuff?
Okay, again, it's about being consistent. I think that those online tutorials, if they can just access that and I didn't have to explain to them every time, it would save everybody time. It would save me time and them time, and they'd be able to focus more on other things instead of having to come in and meet with us, and that would just be a great resource for them. Also, I think that having the track sheets be more simple, having more events for them to meet these requirements that they need to do, While I do believe the requirements are important because you do need to meet them and there's a community within the SA clubs and that's important, I do think that they should be at the club's convenience, not at our convenience, and that's important to do. So everything I really outlined in the whole consistency platform would be my answer.
So a big thing this last semester was like the whole Black Wave thing that happened. And I know that there was a lot of expectations from the administration and then a couple other clubs. The clubs wanted one thing that the administration wanted. So anything like that happens again, how are you going to like bridge the gap between the clubs and the administration?
So I'm someone who will always fight for the clubs because I really believe in that. This year I'm a big advocate for all the SISH clubs on Senate. It's usually the SISH clubs who come to Senate because I have 65 of them. So I always advocate for their interests, if they're reasonable, obviously. So I would just make sure that I'm stating their points, their arguments, researching. Research is very important to look into every possible way and trying to get things done. And that's what I tell my clubs. If there's not one way to do something, you can find another way. And there's always a way to get to what you want. Like if you want $500 for a program, we can go to Senate, we can explore different grants, we can do different things. And I know that's not as big of a thing as the blacks only, whites only thing, but it's advocating for the clubs, and I will always do that because that should be the priority of the vice president because they work for the students. So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah.
You put a lot of emphasis on the SA clubs, but you also mentioned the 20,000 undergrads here at ED.
Mhm.
So how do you plan to make these other students comfortable, the students who might not have any interest or the time to join the SA club?
So Matt kind of outlined a lot of that, I'm sure, when he talked, but I can expand on that. I would love for students to be comfortable and come in and talk to us. Specifically, I mentioned assembly a little bit. I really would love to increase assembly presence. It's a place where you can come. You need 100 signatures to join, but it's always welcome for anybody to come and express their opinion. And I would love to grow that. I don't know why that is so small, and I would love to really advocate to make that bigger next year. If you're not familiar, students can come in, they propose policies, they propose change and things we could do to better the school. And it's every other Wednesday, so it's not even that often. You don't need to take the time, or you can work with the assembly chair or me. My door would always be open to suggestions, and we can bring that up to the assembly and start to change things within the university. So that would be a way that students could come and help us and help themselves and UB.
You mentioned doing club tutorials online. I'm sorry, did you say that they would be videos as well? Is that something else?
They would be videos.
Yeah. I think in the past we've seen a lot of candidates come up here and they advocate for making videos, whether it's staff orientation via video or, or just like you're saying. And at least to my knowledge, I haven't actually ever seen anything actually get done with that. So can you maybe tell us how you would actually make sure that it has gotten done? Have you spoken with anyone about how actually that would work and how would you go about actually getting that video tutorial?
Yeah, so I would create it over the summer. I'm going to be here the entire summer if elected. I've set aside the whole summer. I didn't apply to any internships in hopes of this. So I would work with, we have a full entertainment department. We have videographers that we could use. If that didn't work, honestly, I would make it happen because I'm someone who always just tries to make it happen. Specifically with SISH this year, I made a SISH week and people thought that was ridiculous and I just went with it, and that's the kind of person I am. I'm just going to go with it and make sure everything that I say I'm going to do will happen. So I'll make sure even if I can't, if there are obstacles in my way, I will find ways to get over them, basically. I'll find a way. But we do have the resources to record those videos, so maybe it was time in the past, I don't know, but I will make the time because I always do.
Also, if it were to be a case where your party was elected and one of the independent treasurers were to be elected, how would you maybe see you and the presidential candidate working with the treasurer who necessarily didn't run with you guys? That's the way it's set up. President, vice president can get elected, but it might be a different treasurer. So how would you work with a treasurer that's not from your party and didn't run with you?
Okay, obviously you have to put differences aside in that case. We're working for the students, and I think that's always important to remember. I think me and Matt work very well together. We're obviously tied together. But if Dan weren't elected, we would move on and be positive and try to get to know the treasurer and what their aims and goals were and match them up to ours. And I think that's extremely important in a professional setting, is when you realize that this is for the betterment of the students, not for the betterment of yourself. It's not what you want, it's what the students want. So we would work with them, get to know what their goals were, and make sure we make those happen together.
And I also know Sean implemented kind of a new club policy handbook, correct? Just what are your thoughts on that? How have you seen it went over? Would you change it? Would you update it? What would you do to it?
The club policy handbook is very detailed, which is extremely important, but I would push more important things towards the front of the handbook, obviously. I would want, the tutorials would honestly be the most important things for clubs to know, but I would want to make the handbook a little more concise. If we could, I would look at it and make it shorter in places it could be, but again, everything in that handbook is important, so it is important to get the information, and that's kind of my aim with the tutorials, is that, oh, but if I want a quick help, I can look at this tutorial, but if I need something detailed, I have the club policy handbook.
Yeah. Okay, just lastly,
Go ahead.
just last semester with the with everything that happened with the Student Association Senate Chair election, clearly there was just some missteps in terms of people not clearly knowing the Constitution, how that worked, just on multiple levels. So has your party at all discussed how they would better inform themselves of the Constitution? Would they update it? Just how would you as an e-board try to make sure that elections and procedures and everything like that just run as smoothly as possible according to the Constitution?
Well, we really want to promote being fair, extremely fair, and base everything we do off of the Constitution, because those are our bylaws and that's what we follow. I think specifically with the Senate situation, we need to realize in situations that come up that what's the purpose of us being here? Senate is for clubs, and we need to realize that there are rules, we need to follow them, and it's important to go through with the rules. So we would read over the Constitution and obviously enforce it when we need to, and make sure that we know everything down pat, and we have the entire summer to bridge that gap, so for learning, and I would make sure that that happens.
Okay, thank you, Megan.